I go where I am known. I go where I'm not an illusion. Where I go, I've noticed. Everybody goes there. Everybody goes there.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Carla Berline, Around Town TV Live's Car Talk with Carla segment. America's lifestyle and business experts, we've been bringing you and featuring the best kept secrets, businesses, organizations, and people since 2003. We are Minneapolis St. Paul's longest airing television community showcase, and I'm thrilled to have with me today a very, very special guest. Jennifer Morell is a regional vice president of sales at Stream Companies and a builder of brands that move people and metal, like cars. With a foundation shaped by 14 years at QVC in on-air, marketing, and e-commerce roles, she brings a rare blend of live selling expertise and digital performance strategy to the automotive industry. Now deep in automotive digital strategy, she specializes in turning attention into action. She's passionate about live commerce, data-driven marketing, and helping dealers win in modern retail. A single mom of 3 and lifelong student of mindfulness, Jennifer brings both intensity and heart to everything she builds. Please welcome Regional Vice President of Sales at Stream Companies, Jennifer Morell. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Carla. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Well, and there's one thing that wasn't in your bio that I think is so cool, and I want to make sure I get it right. You were just awarded back in December. It's called the Challenger Coin Award, or can you help me with this? Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and it's for, you have to be nominated for the award, and it's not only for someone like Jennifer, who's a top seller at Stream Companies, but it's people who go above and beyond. And Jennifer is they call him buddy, but mentor, and has been really, really good to me. And it's been great for me because we both have that traditional side of the media, maybe have sold to automotive, but I didn't have the automotive background. And, but like Jennifer, I was a guest host at QVC and of course, Shop NBC, worked there on air and have been live selling and doing what we're doing today for a very long time. So just that synergy has been great. And I so appreciate you more than you'll ever know.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad I can be of help. You've been fantastic to work with. And yeah, I'm just very honored to win that award and being in this space for the last 2 years, coming from, the consumer world with QVC and live TV, very different, but honored to be able to work within this industry. It's a fast-paced, hardworking industry with a lot of different things happening and changes, and it's an exciting time to be involved.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that. I have always known how hard these dealers work, and I've watched them, and it moves fast and it changes so rapidly, like everything in the digital world right now. Mm-hmm. But so I always thought, well, how great to work for a company like Stream with great products to be able to sell to them and help them as they're moving fast. What I didn't realize is we move just as fast.
Yeah, we certainly do. We have to keep up, right?
Exactly. Jennifer, today's automotive customer journey looks very different than it did even just a few years ago. Research shows that 95% of vehicle buyers now complete most of their shopping online before ever even contacting a dealership. And I know I did that. From your perspective, working directly with dealerships across the country, what has fundamentally changed?
So, again, I've only been in the industry 2 years, right? So I've really done kind of a lot of listening and learning as much as I could. But from what I can see, the biggest shift here is that the dealership is no longer where the journey begins. It's actually where the journey concludes. So if you think about it, today's customers, they're really researching extensively online. They're comparing multiple dealerships simultaneously. So buyers actually are visiting on an average of 4 to 6 websites before they're making any decision. And that kind of leads to the fact that, that decision is truly a decision that they're making out of trust, and they're determining that trust fairly quickly. And most visitors are spending about 45 to 75, so an average of 60 seconds on a dealership's website before they figure out whether they have confidence in you or not. And if they don't, they're moving on. And so the experience itself becomes the differentiator today.
Well, and that's a short window of time.
Yeah.
What determines whether a customer stays or leaves during those first few moments?
Sure. So it actually all comes down really to clarity and ease. Think about yourself from the customer's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes. That's how I love to look at business. And when you look at that through their lens, customers are evaluating whether that dealership feels transparent, organized, are they trustworthy? And then actually research shows that 88% of consumers say the experience, and that is actually what provides more value to them than the product itself. So the experience of the over the product is actually what gives you the conversion. And so if pricing isn't clear, if payments aren't visible, or the process feels, confusing, and there's uncertainty that enters the equation like at all, that's essentially where you can go, sideways. So really the journey today it's incredibly fragile, if you will. Dealerships don't have multiple minutes to earn trust. They don't have 5 minutes. They have 60 seconds. And so they have to kind of think of it through that lens.
Well, and it sounds like dealerships can be losing customers without even knowing it because it's moving so rapidly.
Yeah, because customers, they're not announcing, hey, you just lost me. They're just moving right on to the next site. And there's a lot of competition out there. So because there's other options available, the dealerships really need to, and their teams and partners need to work hard to create that clear and synergistic experience so that they earn their business right on those first couple clicks entered into the dealership's website.
Well, and we know websites are important. Beyond the website experience, how important is speed when responding to the customers?
So this is one of my favorite questions because speed is so critical. And actually, Harvard put out a study that said dealerships who respond to inquiries within 5 minutes are 21 times more likely to convert that customer than if they just waited to 30 minutes. So 5 minutes and 30 minutes captures a very different audience and a sale that, that lag time will corrupt and take that customer away from you. So I think the responses, can be slow to a customer and that help, I think when a customer feels like they're not getting an answer, it removes trust. And that's the part that we, have to pay attention to.
Well, and I think like we talked about in the beginning, things are moving so fast and people expect a fast response. And you were really good in giving me some great mentorship and directive even at NADA. We have now, it's a new client of ours who we were supposed to meet with, the leadership team and myself on Friday, the last day at NADA. And they had stopped by, one of them had stopped by earlier in the week and said hello. And then just by chance to introduce me to the one that I hadn't spoken to, the GM and dealer principal, hey, and oh, by the way, could we just meet right now? Yeah. And I was like, oh, because usually we do it's when I'm newer at Stream and usually we do this huddle and we like strategize and, we're all in and I'm super detailed. So, and Jen's like, you need to make this happen right now. And we got the client. So there's another example of response and speed.
Yeah, it's kind of like think of it as like, speed equals care. It signals care. And so a customer is going to gravitate towards a business that makes them feel prioritized. And I think you did a great job in that moment because it was crazy and NADA was fantastic. But they were super excited to talk and they had the time. So that's in that moment, that's what we do at Stream. I know we go above and beyond and make sure our clients know we care because we do. And we're backed by a team of experts who care. And that's what makes it so fun to actually sell what we get to sell every day.
Well, and I'm just going to take a little side note here too, that one of the cool things too in the onboarding process of a new client that I love is, yes, Stream headquarters is in Westchester, Pennsylvania, but we're all over the country. And one of my newer clients is in a state out west. And so the onboarding team, one of the lead people on it is from that same state. And actually, the dealer was trying to explain to her, oh, a little bit about her history. She goes, oh, I'm aware. I know all about it, and then added to it. And I'm like, and this is why I love working here, because we do have people all over the country. We can have those people right in their backyard that do have the history, so you don't have to go through all that. And it's just so important. But back to the speed, you were saying something, and I wanted to make a comment to that. So speed isn't operational, it's emotional.
Yes. I mean, you're giving a customer what they feel they need in that moment. And so it's really the due diligence on the business's part to understand what that is. And so whether it's an automotive or any other, industry, it's really understanding who your customers are and how you can meet them where they are in real time.
Oh, wow. Yep. No, that's great. One of the things we were talking about offline is friction in the customer journey and how important that is. What creates friction in the customer journey from your perspective?
So there's a lot of fragmentation behind the scenes, if you will. Dealerships, I think, as you know, typically have multiple systems, and then they have multiple partners managing those different aspects of what essentially then is the customer journey. So you think of website platforms, the advertising channels, data, lots of data, always data, and then communication tools. And so from the customer's perspective, it's just one continuous experience. But when those systems aren't aligned, inconsistencies then appear. And then customers will interpret that inconsistency as risk. And that kind of goes back to the speed factor. And when you have a cohesive experience from the customer's perspective, your conversions are highly likely.
No, it boils down to customer service for sure. That's what you've been talking about is just so important. And the internal structure always impacts and affects the customer experience. Let's touch on that a little bit too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really goes back to kind of that, who is managing that experience? Are all of the systems talking to each other? Does it all make sense? Is the messaging the same? Is what the consumer experiencing, consistent? And that experience, that outcome, that feels the best for the customer when it's seamless, because trust forms when it feels natural. If this customer has to jump through hoops, go all throughout your website to figure out X, Y, and Z, first of all, they're probably going to abandon. But second of all, it's not going to make them feel prioritized and heard if what they're looking for isn't front and center. So, your pricing, your all sorts of those things that I know we'll get into and talk about. But yeah, that's essentially what I meant by that.
Okay. No, thank you for clarifying. What separates a high performing dealerships from average performing ones today?
Sure. I would say probably higher performing dealers, they prioritize that experience, right? They understand that customer, when they don't buy, like essentially when they're ready to buy, they buy when they feel comfortable. And I don't know about you, but I just recently purchased a new car. And when I didn't feel ready essentially, but they made me feel like I was ready. And it was that experience of feeling comfortable and trusting them and understanding that they had my best interest at heart. And, it was a fair deal. All those things come into play. But
Yes.
That comfort created the ease. And I think when dealerships understand that and make that a priority, with that comes clarity, speed, and ease. And they're removing that friction. And so that is essentially what creates the confidence, and then loyalty, I think, helps continue from there.
Well, and like you, it would have been a year ago, December, I wasn't ready to buy. I like to drive my cars. I take good care of them until they don't run. And it was Brent Wade from St. Paul Autos, Volkswagen Inver Grove, and Wiper Mitsubishi. He's a friend of mine, and he always guides me. And he said, it's time. I'm not putting any more money into this car. It's time. I'm like, oh. But I ended up buying this car per his directive at Key Cadillac. And Michael Stanzik, who's also been a guest on my show, that team, I was just dreading, like going through the process and approval. And you just, being self-employed, it can be difficult. They guided me every step of the way. I was approved in like 5 minutes and basically showed up, signed, and walked out the door with my new car and a bow on top for Christmas. And I thought, oh, thank you. I was just dreading it. They made it so wonderful and so easy. And that, guess what? guess where I'm going to go again.
That's right. And
Yeah.
and for service too. When I feel comfortable, especially as women, comfortable, feel like there's trust there, you feel like you have a buddy that's on your side that's going to, give it to you straight. That is what I love when I walk into a dealership that, from a woman's perspective, I think is rare sometimes. And so to create create that environment, create that confidence. And I think that helps kind of move that dealership forward. And it's not just about driving traffic, right? It's when you have people at your doorstep or your digital doorstep, how are you treating them? What do they actually need? And how can we predict that and give them the answers quickly?
Absolutely. When I take my car in for even just an oil change and the tire rotation, I do take it over to Volkswagen in Vergrove. And there's been a couple times, I've been kind of in a hurry. So they've either come and picked it up. But a couple of the times when I was going to be driving across the country and did this last minute, this happened twice. I'm like, hey, Brent, any chance I can get in? And yep, they get me in. And I get there thinking, okay, tire rotation, et cetera. And I've had them come out twice and say, your tires are even. You do not need a rotation. Well, I'm going to Florida. Are you sure? You are just fine. And they could have charged me and not done it. They could have, just done it because, and they didn't. And that trust, that experience, that honesty, like you said, for women like us, that do know enough about cars, but you just don't want to be taken advantage of, it just really makes a huge difference.
It does. And I come from, my family's in the car industry. And so I grew up, understanding the car personalities, and I love and adore them. And so, it's really just, again, I think you think of it through the customer's lens and you start thinking of the whole experience a little bit differently. We're also tied up in metrics and data and amazing tools that exist from so many awesome partners out there in the space. It kind of you can get lost in that a little bit. And one of our colleagues, Gabe, he always says, bring it back to basics. And I love that, because it's truly, this is the basics. Customer journey, it really is foundationally built on the basics, which is just understanding what your customer needs. And when you back into it that way, it makes the whole experience, I think, for all involved, a little bit nicer of an experience.
Well, and I find that, the simpler you can keep it, or keeping it at the basics, really just makes it so much easier. Sometimes we make things so complex that they don't need to be, and it just overwhelms everybody.
I agree. I mean, imagine, we go on these websites and most of the time we're all doing it from our phones, right? Like this is the real estate we're working with, not necessarily the big website that we look at when we build these things out. But, pricing on the website, how clear is it? What are the call to actions? Are there so many buttons everywhere that I don't even know where to look? Are there a lot of different color variations on the page? One of our old colleagues, Darren used to always talk about Amazon. And, if you look at Amazon, you look at their checkout, you look at, what that experience looks like. And I obviously spent a lot of time in that consumer space understanding that. That's all done very specifically. Think about Apple. You walk into an Apple store. An Apple store is designed very intentionally. You don't feel crowded and overwhelmed. It's spaced out. The architecture of the layout of that store is very intentional. It's made to make the customer feel calm and be able to browse and look and not be intimidated where they turn around and go out, the door. And so when you go onto a website, whether it's an automotive website or any consumer website, and it doesn't create that clear experience where you feel like, oh yeah, that's what I want right there. Oh, that's the price. Okay, here's my trade-in. What's that worth? And it's quick and you don't feel like, oh, they're trying to pull one over on me. That's what we need to go, get away from. And I think walking through that process meticulously helps you keep it tight.
Well, and one of the things we were also talking about offline and websites is that it's not always about increasing traffic and just the experience. There's so much that plays into that. Let's kind of go down that path a little bit, because I thought that was very important, that when you've got this website and performance, it's not just to push the people there. Well, we obviously want the sales too.
Yeah, obviously you want the sales. So I think it really, again, it's that you can push sufficient traffic to a website, but the opportunity is ensuring that traffic converts, right? By creating that environment where the customer feels confident moving forward.
No, and that's exactly what I meant. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. How can dealerships improve alignment and create a seamless experience? I mean,
Yeah.
everyone in their mind has what's a good experience.
Yeah. So exactly. So how do we give that customer that experience, right? Fair question. So I think it starts by connecting that ecosystem that lives behind the scenes, right? At Stream, we focus on aligning the dealership's data and the website experience and the advertising and the messaging. And because we're a full service agency, we can iterate on that in real time with
Right.
the data and be able to mold and shift as needed. But I think when you align all of those things so that the customer and that forward facing experience is one continuous, consistent journey, it helps kind of drive that traffic, ensures that traffic converts into trust.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. Thank you. So we know the automotive industry has been just changing so rapidly. I have been at Stream since September. I'm an automotive enthusiast, so I follow the industry. And even since I've been there and am reading everything daily in the changes, it's going to continue. Where do you see the automotive retail experience heading in the future?
So, I mean, there are so many different things happening on the horizon of automotive, from, your Carvanas and, direct consumer concepts and things like that. But truly, I guess for me, I think that the dealerships that will end up leading in the future, or today even, are the ones that will recognize that their greatest competitive advantage is in creating that experience. So I go back to like customers today, they really do expect clarity and ease. And in most other industries, you can get that on an e-commerce experience. It's pretty simple. This is one of those experiences where there's a lot of layers and there's a lot of opportunity for friction because of all of those layers. So I think if you're looking to win in today's environment, clarity, ease, the experience, it has to be ingrained in every part of their life. And so what I love about Stream is how we're able to advertise to customers who are already in market, already active on websites, already looking, and be relevant to those customers in real time because of our technology and because of the way we can then take that data and turn it into a message in real time. And so what I mean by that experience is, okay, now I'm a customer, I'm being served up an ad. It's very relevant to what I was just looking at. Oh, I'm being, they see me. So without feeling too creeped out, that hopefully hits a conversion and makes them think, okay, let me go back to that. And that consistency with that time, because speed is important, as we talked about, really does play into that conversion and the customer who's competing against you with 4 to 5 other stores. So if you talk about, you have 60 seconds to capture that customer, they're shopping 5 other competitors at the same time. And you go back to that Harvard stat, which was 88% of customers prefer and buy from the experience versus the product. Well, all of them are selling cars, right? And so the big opportunity, the big win is to say, this is who I am as a brand, right? And just as well as I do, I'm in dealerships all over the country. And one of my favorite things about dealerships is they're all so unique. They are like an individual TV show, and every single one that you walk into, they all come from a different background, have a different perspective, but they're all there for the customer. So each customer is also different. And so there's an opportunity for dealerships to find who speaks to their brand and talk to those customers and invite them in and shop their own websites. Shop your own websites, create shopper. I will shop your website, reach out, I'll do it. Secret shopper here anytime anybody needs it. But
absolutely
doing that, being proactive, truly understanding, not just like saying it, but doing it.
Yes. And I just had this conversation with somebody. You need to pretend like you're a customer, because here's what I found. And, you were just touching on something that I really feels sets Stream apart. Not only are we the full service integrated agency, a lot of our proprietary software and the cool things, or even like almost creepy, like we said, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That helps the conversions of those leads, which is so important. And people don't realize, there's a lot of companies who do SEO and offers, et cetera, that are great companies, but we take it to a whole different level.
We do. SEO is a foundational approach to, any search right out there within the Google ecosystem. And I think today is fascinating because you have AI, you have AI and how that absolutely has now shifted search results and how customers are searching. We used to have, 3-4 words to a Google search, and now we're searching AI in paragraphs. And so that really changes how those results are going to show up. And, I think it's super important to have a partner like Stream who is their finger on the pulse of this every single day, and teams of people, not, AI systems running it, but teams of human beings running that, because SEO is a critical and will remain a critical component of any kind of marketing and advertising strategy.
Absolutely. And AI is great and adds so much. But in fact, when AI was first coming out and I was at this big seminar of people who were in the early development stages, I actually said, will AI replace the human? Was one of the questions. And the person said, no, a human running AI will. Then that it's very important that you have that human piece too. That yes, it's great, but I have seen that firsthand, especially in our industry.
Yeah, and then it can be a great partner and a tool, AI, right? Because kind of go back to that statistic where, I was telling you, responding within 5 minutes makes conversion 21% more likely than just waiting 30 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah,
so like that alone, so if there's a tool out there to help that, you obviously want to mitigate that as fast as possible. But then to your point, adding in that human element makes the customer feel human. And that is so important, because I'm a human, you're a human. I like that. I know when I'm talking to a robot. I understand when it's necessary or its efficiencies. But for big purchases like this, definitely you want to humanize that experience still.
Well, and before everything became digital, and it was more, I remember in the old direct response days, because we were part of some of the first in the live home shopping, the 21 times reminds me of, I always would tell people, a good repeating phone number, digits, gets you an 80% higher success rate in people calling and turning into sales. It will convert 80%. I mean, it's the same type of thing. And now that it's digital, it's just that moving fast, the customer experience, the customer journey, and staying focused on that.
That's right. And I get a geek out on the customer experience and the customer journey, because, 20 plus years ago when I started at QVC, and I spent 14 years there, we had what we used to call like NASA inside. QVC is a live television program 24 hours a day. And so that consumer data that we were able to mine in real time through cable and that consumer environment back in the day, it's the same tone. It's the same idea. It's just a matter of knowing where your customers are today. They're not on cable. They're online. They're on social media. They're on connected TV. They're on connected radio. They're doing anything but cable. That cord cutting is here and here to stay. And so you have that information and you have the ability to respond to it. And so that's why I get so excited about this environment, because it mimics that behavior. And there's just so much opportunity for us here in automotive to understand that consumer journey and take it seriously. And then always just put yourself right back in their shoes. And I think the answer comes quickly.
Well, and speaking of, if there's one thing that dealerships should focus on improving immediately, what would it be?
So it's the clarity, focus on clarity, because the customer journey, again, it's fragile. And every single interaction, digitally and in person, it will build trust or it will erode trust. So I think those dealerships that are willing to create that seamless, transparent, and easy experience are the ones that are going to earn the confidence in the end. And in order to do that, they have to really trust their partners, and they have to understand what's going on behind the scenes there. So they're not creating friction behind the scenes that's going to show up in front of their customer and then, create that illusion of not having comfort to trust you. So that's what I think for the future.
Right. Well, and you and I aligned so much in that. In fact, as I was just recently onboarding one of my newer and first clients, I was looking through all the paperwork for us. And someone had said, oh, it's a lot. I'm like thinking, thank goodness it is, because they're going to know I can give them my knowledge and my relationship to date, which there's a lot. I got to know this client very well. That's going to transfer into the customer journey and experience and the success. And I have no problem doing that, because our systems aren't fractured. They are aligned, which helps.
Bingo. Yeah. That's why it's so fun to sell, because you're selling a solution that actually will move the needle and make the customers happy at the same time. So it's a win-win.
Right. Absolutely. I just want to make sure we've covered, I know we were talking about customers decide trust in seconds was huge. The experience determines where customers will buy, which we touched on, the speed, building trust, fragmentation, causing friction, and the alignment creates that seamless experience. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think we should mention to the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of social media personally, professionally. I have used this within my career for all of it basically because QVC shopping, that's what you do. But now moving into here, I think it's I just blanked on my purpose there. But social media it's an everyday thing, right? It's
Yes.
like drinking coffee at this point. We are waking up, we're having coffee, we're on our phones. It's where we are going. And so if you can utilize social media in a bigger way without having to, spend a ton of money doing it just to start playing around and getting used to it and comfortable with it, it's a really great tool and platform just in all those environments, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, to really get in there and learn about your customers. Because if you are creating content, most likely your customers are engaging in content. And I always say the golden nuggets are within those comments. And so to understand what your customers want in an even more granular way, you'll learn that if you post a lot of content, you'll learn a lot about your customer. And then it also is just a very, very seamless way to showcase authenticity. And so you go back to that unique aspect of each dealership's personality. Social media channels are a really great way to organically get that out there, to connect with your customer. It doesn't have to be like you're viral and that makes it work. You could have small momentum and that builds over time. So consistency breeds success, authenticity breeds success. And then just truly getting in there and mining those comments so you can learn a little bit more about your customers. And I think that is one of those things that every dealer can do without any money and just get in there and start to play.
That's golden advice and so important. And we had touched on the whole TV thing. And I remember when I first started Around Town TV, April 28th, it hit the airwaves of 2003. And, it grew quickly. And the following, it was lodged in between, it was on Channel 6, a nonprofit television station here in town, lodged between the major networks. It ran almost 4 times a day on broadcast. So I knew people weren't going to go, oh, Carla's on.
Yeah.
I got to be home. I wasn't appointment viewing, but they caught me channel flipping. And people would say that when I'd meet me in public, oh, I got you channel flipping. Well, that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
And I did that. But then as a HD television came and the bigger channels and so many, it changed that landscape. And then digital. And even now I'll have people say to me like, oh, you should start a video podcast on like Spotify. And I said, nobody would come.
Yeah.
Now, my viewers are on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, YouTube. I go where they are.
Yes.
And that's the show going out to 8 different platforms at once. So it's important that you are where your customers are, which is something else that we are very good at, Stream, of helping our dealers.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's our technology, right? Our proprietary technology that we built and we have to sell, which, helps identify and market shoppers. It's essentially, geofencing their house, if you will. And I think that is exciting because you're not wasting your ad spend. You're spending it on customers that are already in market, have already been on your site. I think the average is 97% of customers who go to an automotive site leave without any lead on purpose because the automotive industry has trained the customer very well that they don't want to be bothered. So, spend all that money to get them there and then they're gone without a lead. To be able to solve for that and then give the customer meaningful messaging, that's the twofold experience. That's what we need to be able to create that frictionless environment and that, ease with that customer. That's how that's done. And so connect the dots behind the scenes, then in real time, it works a lot quicker.
Absolutely. And if you're someone watching us right now on any of the platforms, or you happen to catch this as it's embedded and you miss the live show, both Jen and I have a lot of different automotive people, my peeps, on various platforms. Feel free. I mean, she'll be tagged in this, Stream will be tagged. You can message us privately if you'd prefer. If you're someone who's like, I'm curious. I'm not sure I want to, go there. We do free audits. And a conversation costs nothing. And
And
you
we'll
said,
mystery shop.
pardon?
We'll mystery shop. Yes.
Oh, totally. And you said it best the other day, this isn't for our dealerships. This is a big, something very important and big. It's, like a home or a car purchase. When
Oh yeah,
you're partnering with somebody like us, whether it's just a few of our products or an actual agency partner with everything, it's a big deal.
it is. It's a big deal. And it creates, you have to, again, go back to the consumer within the auto space, create the trust. It's the same thing. It's, a partner has to be authentic, consistent, all those things that we were just talking about in the same way. But what we back it by is our team and our results and our technology. And then, we've been around for 30 years. So I love that because we have a lot of knowledge backing, a lot of experts within the marketing and digital and advertising space, but a ton of automotive experts as well. And when those combinations come together, it's kind of an unstoppable strategy that, our dealers end up being given. And obviously it's up to them to decide how they're most comfortable moving forward. But we always put together that full experience, that full market strategy approach, and then a dealer can a la carte what they need from there. But yeah, being a full service agency, I think helps give us a little leg up there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, and shout out to David Wren, our CEO and co-founder of the company 30 years ago, a true American dream that, right out of college in his mom's living room, starts the company, and look what it's built in today. And one of the cool things that you don't see behind the scenes is, some of the teams, even our innovation. We've got a person our VP of innovation who I fell in love with at NADA. They're always creating. They're already beyond the AI, figuring out what's next, have the beta, plans for you, and they'll roll them out to us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Amazing. Like I'm just, So,
Yeah.
I mean, you keep us on our toes too. So it's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, we're lucky to be a part of a big team like this, almost 700 streamers. So we have a lot of advantages there, but always moving forward, always kind of testing. And that is a good sign of a growing company, and 30 years old, still growing. I love being a part of it.
I do too. And you've been a big contributing factor to the growth as a top salesperson for the company, and your knowledge and expertise that you bring from the digital and consumer perspective into the customer journey and experience. So I really, I admire you, and I want to be you when I grow up.
Oh my gosh. Don't, no.
I'm quite a bit older, so, but I'm your older sister, but I still want to be you. Getting back to, some of the things we were talking about, is there anything that I've missed that you really wanted to cover or that I've left out?
No, I think this was great. I hope it was helpful. There's so much great information out there as far as technology and different strategies and the nuances of all of those things. But I'm grateful to have talked about, this part of it, because I think it can be overlooked a little bit. And it's such an important foundational element to any dealership's strategy. And the ones that are winning, I do hope pay attention to that experience.
Absolutely. And we have a lot that are winning, and there's I've never had a car dealer say to me, I've sold too many cars this month.
Yeah. No, that's never going to happen. I guarantee it.
Right. No, exactly. So we're here to help. And, and one of the special shout outs I'd like to do is we talk about the people, but I want to do a shout out to our people at Stream Companies and our dealers and the people we work with. We've both in our infrastructure as well as outside. We work with some amazing people, and the women and our RVP team, like the best. If they see me doing something or making a mistake, or I just don't know something yet, they'll pick up the phone and call me, or call me on Teams like, hey, sister, I love you. So I just want you to know this is X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, thank you. We're you don't get that everywhere.
Powerhouse ladies. I love them.
I know. We do have some good powerhouse, kind souls. And so shout out. And the guys too. The guys are always supportive. So thank you. Thank you to the guys on our team as well. I love checking in with them weekly. Before we sign off, if there's any shout outs or anything you want to say, please do.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was a fun opportunity. It's been a minute since I've been on live television or live air, I should say. So this is great. I'd love to come back and have another conversation sometime.
Oh, absolutely. It's done. I know you're a busy person, so I appreciate your time. And to those tuning in who have been following us since April of 2003, thank you. We will be back live next week, Wednesday evening, in the kitchen studio of Amalia Demgard, and her husband may be making a special appearance too, Ken Demgard, but we'll see. And then, of course, next week it is the state high school hockey tournaments. And big shout out to both men's and women's USA team for winning the gold. Kudos to you and all of our USA team gold medals. But it's kind of we're the state of hockey. So next week will be a holiday. I'll be working, of course, and DVRing the games, but very excited for that. So we're going to do the one because a lot of my dealerships will be at the games during the week. So we probably will miss Car Talk for Carla, but then be back the following week. So please tune in for that. And we of course will promote that. And Jen, thank you again. I'm so grateful to you, and you're the best.
You're the best. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my honor and pleasure. And thank you again to everybody. We will see you right here next week on Around Town TV Live, and then the following week with Car Talk with Carla. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.